Thanks for staying with us. Now, $1.68 billion belonging to foreign airlines is trapped in Africa as of September this year. Now, the countries holding on to these funds include Ghana, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Angola, and Zimbabwe, with Nigeria being the biggest debtor globally to the tune of $850 million. This was made known at the just concluded 55th Annual General Meeting of the African Airlines Association in Entebbe, Uganda. How do these African countries navigate this problem amid high inflation and limited FX supply? Mohammed Abdullahi, business travel consultant, joins us. Good afternoon, Mr. Abdullahi. I can see that IATA's regional vice president of Africa and Middle East, Camille Al-Awadi, was quite vocal and passionate at the meeting with regards to the blocked funds. Can you share some of his concerns and how this has impacted on airline operations?
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be here. It's quite a big challenge for us as a country because, like you rightly mentioned, we've had more than 850 million USD, blocked in Nigeria for the past 2 years, owed to several airlines, both locally and then, most importantly, internationally. And answering your questions, particularly, if you recall, more than a year now, Emirates Airline, apologies that I have to mention brands, but Emirates Airline have not flown Nigeria, and it's said to be a major issue because of the block funds. So Hamid Al-Wadi, like rightly mentioned, was very vocal 2 days ago at the just concluded AFRA 55th Annual General Assembly here in Kampala in Uganda. He was very vocal because he shared the concern that this is really affecting airlines operations. They need these funds to keep operating, to service the airplanes and so on and so forth. And this is definitely affecting our continent, and particularly Nigeria as the highest debtor, negatively, because perhaps in no distant time, other international airlines might be forced out of the country. Because yes, when you remember that this service have been paid for, so it is quite challenging that they can't repatriate their money out of the country, having offered the service and so on and so forth. So a continuous delay of this is sure to continue to affect the country negatively, particularly with regards to air travel. And mind you, you understand that Nigerians love traveling. And if you allow me to go further, there is a reason why, in fact, this issue of block funds, another negative effect is the fact that we have skyrocketed charges in terms of ticket pricing, because the airlines are actually looking for ways, to get their money back. And in so doing, if you compare what we fly perhaps from Lagos to UK and then Accra to UK, for instance, you see a big time significant difference between what is obtainable in Lagos and Abuja compared to what you get in Accra or even Benin Republic, just a few kilometers from Nigeria. So this is quite a big problem. What I think is the way forward is for this new government, even though they didn't create the problem, we must be very factual, but this new government must prioritize aviation. They must understand that traveling is quite important, not just for leisure. Most people and many people do this because of business and so on and so forth. So it's very important that we prioritize aviation and then try to put a plan that we need to, sort out this lingering problem. Okay,
Mr. Abdullah, you said the airlines are looking for ways to get their money back, but you just mentioned that the government should do something, to prioritize aviation, but are there any details on collaborations between IATA and the governments of Nigeria and other countries to address the trapped funds and other related charges?
Yes, Camille, in his submission 2 days ago, mentioned specifically that he's flown to Nigeria separately. He's met the current Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development. He's met top hierarchies, in government and in private sector. And yeah, there's just what's happening is the fact that there's been a lot of promises, but then there are challenges, there are fears, because like I said earlier, this is lingering for more than 2 years. And mind you, perhaps this is a new government, 6 months old. There are myriads of challenges that they are facing altogether. But like I said earlier, they also need to prioritize the aviation sector, because in so doing, you keep so many people on their jobs, not only the foreign airlines. There are a lot of the domestic airlines actually need this USD to go service their place, to go do the MRIs abroad. So it's very important that the government looked at the issue of aviation sector. Try to put up a plan, perhaps a 1-year plan, to say perhaps every quarter will allow this foreign airlines repatriate such and such amount of money, so that you know that there is a plan in place, and not just allow for a blanket decision making. So I think this is the way forward for all, so that we don't just allow everything collapse unexpectedly.
And the strategic planning for payments will be very beneficial. But do you see any significant improvement? You talked about the state of the aviation sector. What about the infrastructure in Africa? Do you see any improvements in that, in the aviation sector, anytime soon, in the near future, medium term, or in the future? What do you project for the aviation sector in Africa?
It looks a bit good, but the numbers are quite still very low at the moment. At the moment, the passenger data for Africa is saying we're just doing 2.1%. And there are a lot of challenges. I mean, there are a lot of reasons why that is so low, despite the fact that we love to travel. But within Africa ourselves, there is a lot of restrictions. For instance, from Nigeria to get to North Africa, I need a visa, which is not forthcoming, and so on and so forth. So these are the things that the government, particularly the African Union, need to put in place. I know there is a single African air traffic transport market that is in place since 2018. 37 countries have signed to that, but not just signing; they are not implementing it. And it's so ironical that the SATM is in place since 2018. But the AU itself is not looking at the issue of actually opening the borders, because in Europe, for instance, you can sleep in London this minute, you have your breakfast in Paris, and so on and so forth. But in Africa, it's quite challenging. It's not so. So I think these are the things. Even though the future looks a bit good, but we need to look at this holistically and remove the barriers within Africa, so that we can improve trade, we can improve travel within our continent, and we'll be doing good numbers to market the continent.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed Abdullahi, business travel consultant, for sharing your insights on Business Incorporated.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.